Good morning, and welcome to A Sanctuary in the World. A Sanctuary in the World is a virtual space that I have created where we come together at various locations, various settings out in the world to think about and reflect on issues happening in the larger world and how those issues intersect with what we believe, with what guides us, with the faith that we hold dear to us. I am coming to you today from the Minnesota State Capitol. You'll see it behind me. The Minnesota State Capitol, located in St. Paul, is the seat of government for the entire state of Minnesota. It's the location where all the laws and decisions about how the state will operate are settled, are decided. It's the place where the state house and the state senate convene. It's also the location where the secretary, the governor, his office is located, and other state officials. It is a beautiful building. It was built around 1905, and it sits on what is now Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in downtown St. Paul. It is our setting today on April the 5th, 2020. Today in the Christian tradition is the day we celebrate Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday marks Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem. And it marks the beginning of Holy Week, of the week that is perhaps the most sacred week for Christians around the world. You know, Jesus, up to this point, had been doing ministry unlike anyone ever before. He was hailed as the long-awaited king, or the Messiah for the Jews, for his people. He had been on course, as we know, to do what people thought was a miraculous thing. He was on course to really become the new king or the ruler, to overthrow and lead his people into victory. The Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke all tell the same story, the exact same story, with slight variations about Jesus' entry into Jerusalem. Matthew 21, verses 1 through 9, Mark 11, verses 1 through 10, and Luke 19, verses 28 through 38, all tell the same story of Jesus' entry into Jerusalem. I'm going to share with you the version that resonated with me the most, and that comes from Luke. I'm going to read Luke 19, verses 28 through 38. Luke 19, verses 28 through 38 from the New Revised Standard Version. After he had said this, he went on ahead, going up to Jerusalem. When he had come near Bethphage and Bethany, at the place called the Mount of Olives, he sent two of the disciples, saying, "Go into the village ahead of you, and as you enter it, you will find tied there a colt that has never been ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, 'Why are you untying it?' just say this: 'The Lord needs it.'" So those who were sent departed and found it as he had told them. As they were untying the colt, its owner asked them, "Why are you untying the colt?" And they said, "The Lord needs it." Then they brought it to Jesus. And after throwing their cloaks on the colt, they set Jesus on it. As he rode along, people kept spreading their cloaks on the road. As he was now approaching the path down from the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of the disciples began to praise God joyfully with a loud voice for all the deeds of power they had seen, saying, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest heaven." Glory in the highest heaven. Now, as I said, Jesus was it. I mean, he was supposed to be the one who would overthrow the government. He was the one who was going to shift the power for the people. As we know, it didn't quite happen that way, and in fact, the script got really flipped. Now, no new ruler or kingdom came to be, and in fact, the exact opposite happened by week's end. Now, I don't want to be the spoiler, because we're not quite there yet. We've got a few days to go. But I'll give you a little glimpse of what happened. Instead of a new kingdom, a kingdom, Kindom, was created. A kingdom proclaiming love and equity and justice for all of creation. A love modeled after Jesus. That's what came to be. Now, that was pretty unexpected. That was really pretty unexpected, and quite frankly, it was quite radical. My friends, today I challenge us. I challenge really us to think about power and authority and who and what we look to save us and to guide us. What are we waving palm branches in celebration of or anticipation of today? You know, like many in the U.S. right now, I'm waiting on that stimulus check to arrive, and I'm quite happy that the kingdom, if you will, is giving me a bit of a break on many of my obligations. But I want to say that is really not sustainable. It's not sustainable, and in fact, it's quite fickle. My hope, my long-term help, centers on a world order that is centered around love. A world order based on love, radical love. Love that proclaims the first shall be last and the last shall be first. One that requires us to love our neighbors, all of our neighbors, every single one in kind, just as much as we love ourselves. Holy Week, this upcoming week, offers us a time to sit with that notion of radical love, and sit with it, especially as day after day after day we listen to the empire of the day, and look to it to save us. Now, my life experience and time has shown time and time again that a different narrative of salvation is what is the key. Not one focused on seats of power like this grand building behind me. Not one focused on power, but one rooted in a love ethic of Jesus. My friends, I ask, what do you believe? What has your experience been? What can you proclaim? And how is that being lived out in the world? I invite you right now to really think about that, and maybe even make a decision or recommit. That, my friends, is my prayer for you and us today. I want to leave you with another passage from my textbook called the Bible, another passage that is dear to me, and one that I hope you will meditate on this week. It is 1 Corinthians 13, verses 1 through 13. Listen to it if you will. 1 Corinthians 13. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. if I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in truth. It bears all things. It believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. But as for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. For we know only in part, and we prophesy only in part. But when the complete comes, the partial will come to an end. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part, then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. And now, faith, hope, and love abide. These three, and the greatest of these is love. My friends, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for journeying with me today, and continue to tap into a sanctuary in the world where we can share and reflect. If you like what you have heard, if you want to know more, I invite you to go to my website, www.gracemultimedia.org. There is a place there where you can send me an email. You can send questions or comments that you might have for me. You may listen to other sermons, and you may learn more about this social enterprise that I'm engaged in. There also is a space for you to donate. There are 2 ways in which you can donate to keep this work alive. My friends, have a wonderful Holy Week, a wonderful week in general as we move forward in this world. Be blessed.